Hello, everyone. Welcome to Shino's Arsenal player ratings. We're going to be talking about Arsenal losing today to Aston Villa by a 1-0 scoreline. So make sure you guys like this video and subscribe to the channel. I'm having a very crazy sports day today, you guys. I have Arsenal today and LAFC. So today has not started off on a good note at all. I was not feeling confident before the game whatsoever. I just had a feeling we weren't going to win the game. Um, but I could not have imagined Arsenal being. I didn't think we would lose like this. I didn't think we would lose by 1-0 and pretty much have so many chances to score in that game and not win it. Um, our finishing in front of goal was horrendous today. And it's just I don't the first goal, I mean, the goal that they score, it's the only real chance that they have of the game. They may only have like one other chance. Like we our XG was 1.58. Like we could their XG was 0.55. Like when I say like it was basically a smash and grab for Aston Villa and Arsenal can only look at themselves. It is so frustrating to lose this way. I can stomach losing to a team that batters us or plays us off the pitch, but Arteta coached a really good game. Obviously he's not on the sideline, but he coached a really good game where Arsenal were pretty dominant the entire time. Aston Villa couldn't really get any change out of Saliba and Gabriel, but the one chance that they got, they put it away, and the 5 chances we got, we couldn't string anything together. Our front four, I don't really count Havertz in this that much, but I mean, you can say our front 5 because he's a part of it. But our front 4 was terrible today. I thought Martinelli had a poor game. I thought, Martin Odegaard had 2 clear-cut chances that he didn't put away. I thought Jesus was just completely I don't know. He was doing that thing where you just know he's not going to score because his head is all mixed up in the other shit. And Saka was nowhere to be found. So it's so frustrating. Like, you want a team to beat you because they were better than you or, they played you off the pitch, right? But I just feel like both games that we've lost this season against Newcastle and Aston Villa, they're different, but they're the same. The margins didn't go in our favor because we couldn't score a goal. It's so frustrating. It really, really is. And I cannot get beyond the 2 chances that Odegaard had. I mean, the first one where he just takes too long and Martinez guesses the right way. And then the second one is just like, oh my gosh, you have to bury that. You really do. And I think we're unlucky not to score at the end of that game because, obviously like Nketiah and Kai Havertz worked real hard to get into that area and put it in the back of the net. It was called back. But I never really even saw Arsenal have that. Maybe it was like a 10-minute period towards the beginning of the second half, but I never really saw like that desperation to score that goal. It was giving very much like we're tired or we don't think we can do it or whatever. And it pissed me the fuck off. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I'm just like not in the best mood now because I thought that they were going to beat us by playing us off the park, not because we couldn't put the ball in the back of the net. And maybe these are the games that, a striker would really make a difference because some of those chances that we were creating, I think a goal scorer puts that in the back of the net. I think if you put Ollie Watkins up there, he scores a goal with the chances that we were creating. I think, Havertz was robbed of several assists. There were just several times where we could have just whipped the ball into the box and we decided to do nonsense, like just hold on to the ball. And I just don't even think that, like, I thought we were going to lose the midfield battle, but we kept them so insanely quiet, but we gave away that goal so early that it just like, damn, like first 6 minutes of the game, give up the goal. It was a well-worked goal, but a lot of it, I look at Arsenal passively defending that. I didn't really feel as though like we were in our shape, and I don't think we wanted to move around from our shapes. And Zinchenko gets sucked in a little bit, and then they just moved us around ever so slightly, and then boom, goal. It's just I'm so irritated. I really am because I really just felt as though, like, obviously people will say you got ran off the park. They were so much better than you guys. Like, people that didn't really watch the game or are using agenda will analyze that game as Arsenal bad, Aston Villa good. But really, we kicked ourselves. Like, we really kicked ourselves. And even if they do get that initial goal, which was a well-worked goal, Arsenal had so many chances to put that game away. We had enough chances to win it, not even just to draw. Like, I could not understand what I was watching in the final third. It was just like everybody was like rushing shots and, not making the right decisions. And it's just nonsense. Like, you have to score. You have to score. Even a point at Aston Villa could be the difference between winning something or not. We still have to go to Anfield. If you thought going to Aston Villa was fucking hard, going to Anfield is going to be even freaking worse. And we have the hardest schedule in December. This was like the way that game went. We should have got something out of that game. That's going to come back to bite us. It just, come on. You have to put your chances away, period. Like, there's just nothing. End the stream. Like, what else do you say? And it's like, I see people blaming Raya. Like, this isn't a Raya game. We had so much possession. They had one chance. Like, this is to me, this is so much on our front four: Odegaard, Jesus, Saka, Martinelli. They were so poor. They had so many opportunities to put us ahead, and they didn't do it. They did not do it, and yeah, we had some nervy moments where, maybe Gabriel misplaced a pass, or, Saliba was out of position, or even like Declan Rice had a poor pass here or there. But we kept them so quiet. Like, I don't even think you can look at our defenders really, except for maybe like on the initial goal. I think a lot of that is Zinchenko out of position, and Ben White so slow to come out, and didn't really defend that with any sort of aggression. So yeah, I'm sure some people will try to make this into a Raya discussion, but be so fucking for real, you guys. This is not a Raya thing. This is 100% Arsenal didn't put their chances away. We were good. The game plan was perfect. We were exploiting their high line, but whether it was just like the ball was like a little bit too far out, or the attackers were offside, or, they just took a bad touch. I mean, I knew we weren't scoring when Gabriel Jesus, like, that ball came into the box and it hit off his fucking shin. I was like, well, it's not happening today. Our touches are just so off. And you could say we're tired, but they played one day later than us, so is it really about being fatigued? No, they were just poor on the day. I don't know, y'all. I really don't know what to say. Like, I thought the game was going to be so different. I almost thought it was going to be a little bit like Manchester City, where they were like super dominant and we were like at the back, like just defending for our lives. It was the opposite. But we could have put one chance away. Like, one chance away. It's so annoying. Like, it really is. I'm so annoyed. Jordan Davis says, we played with no conviction in the attacking third, no ruthlessness or conviction. Akau says, Odegaard, Martinelli, Jesus is let down. Saka was kicked. Sure, yeah. Carol says, was you watching? We kept misplacing our passes. I said that. But even still, Karos, even with all the misplaced passes, we had 1.58 XG. So that tells the story in itself. Misplaced passes, they also had a lot of misplaced passes. Both teams, it was very scrappy in that game. So yeah, a couple of misplaced passes does not mean that the main story of this game is we were poor in the final third. So a couple of misplaced passes here and there, be so freaking for real. John P says, chances missed every game. I'm more pissed at the handball. That has to be bullshit. The lack of quality on the bench. I don't know if I agree with the handball being wrong. I think had he had like not called handball on the pitch, then maybe VAR would have given the goal. But I still feel like Nketiah would have had to have finished off the chance. Like, it was Havertz that finished off the chance. It did bang off of his hand multiple times. It hit off Cash's hand as well. But if you're counting on VAR to save you at the end, you're always going to lose. Boy says, we really needed to stay in all the cups this season. Okay, so I don't know, you guys. I feel like we're every time we lose a game, we start veering into this thing. Like, even though we lost today, we're still second, and we'll be second no matter what happens in the rest of the games. So, it's not like it's the total end of the world. Like, we did lose a game. Teams lose. but let's not go into, oh my God, we have no chance of winning the league now. I feel like it's a little like, stop being dramatic. Let's talk about this game, because when we lost to, who did we lose to earlier in the season? It wasn't even Newcastle. When we drew to Fulham, everybody was saying the same things. Like, we have a very difficult schedule in December. The key is to stay in and around the title race when we get out of on the other side. On the other side of January, Arsenal need to be within a point or two of the top spot. That is the goal, and we can very much so be in that position. So let's talk about this game and not go into, it's the end of the freaking world. Like, we're 1 point off the top, and that is where we'll be at the end of this game week. Kwame says we can't win every game. It's all about how we bounce back against Liverpool. It's actually about how we bounce back against Brighton. We have Brighton before Anfield, so we need to deal with Brighton at home first, and then we talk about Anfield. Then we talk about West Ham. Like, let's not get ahead of ourselves. O'Malley says Trossard is either amazing or shit. That was a terrible, 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 terrible cameo. Aman says misplaced passes, poor decision making, poor finishing, poor subs, poor refereeing decisions. Such a bad day. I mean, what other subs did you guys expect beyond, like, Gabriel Jesus was having like a mare, so he brought in Nketiah, and of course, like, Nketiah is not the best option, but what substitutions would have made that game better? And please don't say Jorginho, because Jorginho is not winning any of those battles. He's not doing shit. Maybe you guys do think it's Jorginho, but I don't necessarily feel like he would have given us that much against a really physical midfield of Aston Villa. I agree with the first like three: misplaced passes, poor decision making, poor finishing. Not sure about the refereeing either. Aaron says XG means nothing. I hate that. I hate they had. Wait, XG means nothing. I hate they have added it to the game. Why? It's just data. It shows, like, it just underpins what we already know, is that Arsenal missed a lot of chances in that game. So I don't know why people hate advanced metrics. It's like, it's the weirdest thing to hate. It just tells you, it gives you a deeper understanding of what happened in the game. Like, I'm not saying, oh my God, we had 1.58 XG and they had less, so we deserve to win. That's not what I'm saying. Whoever wins the game usually deserves to win it. Whoever puts the ball in the back of the net more wins the game, so you deserve it. I'm just saying that we missed loads of chances, so it wasn't like, our defenders just gave that game away. Fuck no. Like, our attackers did not put the ball in the back of the net, so that's all I'm saying. I don't know why people try to blame advanced metrics for things. It's not that big of a deal. The Arsenal perspective says we're in 3 out of 4 cups. Relax. Anytime we lose a game, it's the end of the world. Like, I've never seen a fan base be so arrogant when we're winning games, and when we're, when we won 4 on the trot, and we were on the top of the world, we're winning everything, and then we lose a game and the sky is falling. We're such a weak fan base. It's ridiculous. Moses says we can't win them all, unfortunately, but we played well. We got unlucky and missed our chances. 5 important players we needed are injured. Raya had good saves. Sinna says, I don't think we played that bad, but we had to finish our chances. Odegaard had to score 2 goals. I won't even talk about the refs anymore. Boy says we are not winning the league this season. That recipe is only ready for next season. Martel says that was the best game all season. We're so proud of them. You must be a rival. Nicholas says we could not find a way through. We just missed so many chances. We just missed so many chances. John P says, I just want to be in contention come the run-in. Here's the thing, is like, I feel like, yeah, like, these are macro conversations that we're having now about, what's the repercussion of not winning at Villa Park? What's the repercussions about that? Like, everybody knows that you don't have to be top of the league in December, so being 1 point off of the top is not the end of the world. Is it great to lose games? Does it feel good? Hell no, especially when you feel like you had a legitimate chance of winning. You know what I mean? So I get that, but it's just too much over the topness for me. If you don't think we'll win the league, that's fine. But for this to have been the game that is like, oh, it's the end of the world, I feel like that's a little bit over the top. Philip says, Jess, if it hits off Cash hands first, how is it not indirect free kick in the box? Am I tripping? I think it hit Havertz first. then Cash, then Havertz again, then drop down, and then Havertz kicks it in the back of the net. You know, Trini says the bright side, nobody has outplayed us this season so far. Yeah, I mean, it's basically is the case for me that if Arsenal don't kick themselves, we win. Like, it wasn't really like, I don't know how you guys view the first goal, but it just seemed as though not like we were sleeping, but a little bit like as soon as Zinchenko pinched over just a little bit, they punched that ball over there. Gabriel goes out there to kind of cover it. They pass it into McGinn, and then it takes White too long to get over, and then he puts in kind of like a weakish like challenge or whatever. So it just seemed like a well-worked goal, all kind of like a domino effect of probably not being in the right positions early on, and then once they get into that position next to Zinchenko, he's out of position. So, it's such fine margins at this stage, and the margins in two circumstances really have not gone in our favor, against Newcastle and against Villa, and we have to figure out a way to get points away at the big grounds. So far, I think against Chelsea, we didn't get anything. I know you guys don't really consider that a big ground, but we still consider them part of the big six. So we went away from home there, came away with a point, went away from home to St. James, came away with nothing, went away from home to Villa, and we still have to go away to the Etihad and to Anfield and to Old Trafford and to the toilet bowl. So, they have to learn these lessons that, when you defend pretty well and you have chances, you have to put them away because it's only going to get harder from here. Aman said, why did Nelly come off? Because he was having a horrendous game. Dale says, besides Odegaard's misses, I'm actually overall pleased with the performance. One key to winning the league is not dropping points in back-to-back matches. Yeah, we have to just wipe the slate clean against Brighton, not think about Anfield so much right now. Like, of course, that's the next big ground we have to go to, but we also have to beat Brighton at home, and they could be tricky, and they're not necessarily an opponent that we do that well against, so we have to be very, very, very careful here. Boy says Arteta will not get creative and play Martinelli up front. Arteta can make whatever change he wants, but Martinelli needed to stay on if we wanted to win. I don't know. I don't know if Martinelli was going to do anything in that game. I thought he was like, what was he going to do in that game? I think this is one of those conversations where we're mad about a sub that it's hard for me to understand where the argument is coming from because Martinelli wasn't doing anything in that game. And so I feel like if Martinelli had stayed on and not scored, people would have said, well, why didn't Trossard come on? So it's one of those where we don't really know what the outcome would have been. But at that stage, if Martinelli's having that poor of a game and Trossard tends to be really clutch when he comes in, then that does seem like a natural sub, So I'm not really understanding the Martinelli had to stay on, because if he had stayed on and not scored, y'all would have been calling for Trossard and saying, why didn't Trossard come on? So yeah, let's see. Brett Brown says, I don't understand why we can't finish, but why you think that is, but we controlled them from pillar to post. That's a positive, and I feel good about that. We were in it to win it. I love this feeling. I mean, that's what's frustrated me more than anything is that I just thought the game would be different. I thought that we would be like batten down the hatches and be defending a lot more, but we didn't, and it wasn't even like they sat back in their box and defended for 90 minutes or anything like that. It was very much the case that we were battling them and we were getting the best out of them in defense and in the midfield the entire time. And we just couldn't find the finish. And so, yeah, it's sucks, Social Join says, where are Zinni lovers? The guy's a liability 5 minutes into the game, not focused to defending. Since Zinni returned, we have conceded regularly. Get him out. Zinchenko also put it on a plate for so many of our players as well. Like, there is the other side of it where, yeah, like he was probably, people will say he's the most culpable for that goal. Fair enough. But, you still cannot overlook the amount of chances that he passed it in behind, the amount of chances that he was able to help us create, that players just didn't put it in the back of the net or were offside or whatever. So I get that, I understand that, but the game is 90 minutes. And so you can't just concede in the first 5 minutes and just be like, oh my God, Zinni, like, it's like, what did we do after that? Like, to me, the story of the game is more, first of all, we were never getting out of Villa Park with a clean sheet. Never. We were never getting out of Villa Park with a clean sheet. So once they scored that goal, I was like, okay, that's the one goal that they're going to score. Fine. You know, beyond that, you got to be able to capitalize on those opportunities. Aman says, yes, he was poor, but Nelly is our only direct attacker, and behind in Villa's high line, we take him off. Fair enough. Keep Nelly on. I could have done without him. I don't think he was very good. Kasim says we don't have the attacking depth like Liverpool. They can bring on solid players from the bench. Yeah, we don't have the same attacking depth as Liverpool. Martel says leadership was fantastic. Akau says Odegaard often flops in tough away games. Often, not so much. It's not really that often. Again, it's he misses chances, that's for sure. But I've already debunked that so many times. Like, that's just something that people say. It's not every single hard away game that he flops, because if this is considered a tough away game, he was good in this game last season. Newcastle away last season, Spurs away last season, Chelsea away last season, Chelsea at home last season, Manchester, United home and away last season. So again, like, it's just a farce. Like, he was poor in this game, but like, be all the way fucking for real. Like, City Lifestyle, thank you so much for your super chat, says, everyone relax. We didn't get outplayed, even Arteta missing. Let's hope for reinforcements come January. Come on, you Gunners. So yeah. Chadwick says, Jess, it makes no sense getting new strikers if Arteta is not willing to experiment with his front three lineup. Guys, so basically what we're saying is because Arteta didn't put Martinelli up front, he made a mistake today? Have you guys no, you guys, be serious. Like, if he buys a striker, he's going to play the striker up front. Like, come on, So this whole what's the point of us getting a striker thing, like, that's so dramatic to me, in my opinion. That's super dramatic. Like, if he buys a striker, he'll play the striker through the middle. There's a reason why he doesn't play Martinelli through the middle. And this whole thing about like, okay, well, Martinelli should have went center. Martinelli was having a really, really poor game, So yeah, the Arsenal perspective says, I do think that we are starting to see the longer effects of not having Tomiyasu and Partey available regularly so far this season. Yeah, if you don't have certain players, available to you, you have to figure out a way to pivot, And so I just wonder, what the trade-off today would have been if we had Tommy. I think the trade-off, if you have Tommy, is that, you'll be more defensively solid. But did we need to be more defensively solid today, or did we need to put our chances away? I think the story of this game is not necessarily we needed Tommy, we needed blah, blah, blah. Like, we genuinely just need to put our chances away. Now, when we go to Anfield, I think that's where Tomiyasu being missing is probably going to really hurt us, because that's going to be a completely different story. But again, beyond the first chance that they had that they scored, it really wasn't a Arsenal are defending for their lives type of thing. But yeah, like Tomiyasu and Thomas Partey are incredibly injury prone. And so they cannot be this important to the team. And this is why, when we always have these conversations about like, okay, well, what's the next step? And people suggest that, maybe we should move away from injury prone players. All this like clutching my pearls. I can't believe you'd say that, but it doesn't mean anything to have these great players in your squad if they're never available when you really need them. And we're going through the December period where we were already anticipating having Thomas Partey and Tomiyasu be out for the Asian Cup and AFCON, and they're not even going to be there for the lead up. We desperately needed them in this December period where our schedule could not be any harder than it is. It really could not. We did Luton away, which ended up being more difficult than I think we anticipated. Aston Villa away, Brighton at home, Anfield away, and then fucking West Ham at home. So it's just, we have to get beyond this idea that like these players just need to be fit. We need to have players in our team that are available to us. And right now, there's just we have too many injury prone players in our team. Like, you can't even rely upon them. They're not even here when you desperately need them. Like, we actually could have just used Tomiyasu and freaking Thomas Partey for this period, and they're not here. Like, it's crazy. It really is. Moses says January transfer will be a very big and important transfer this season. A defender, a striker, and maybe defensive mid. The right transfers will help us win the league. We're not getting three signings, but if we can get one, we can get one. You know, C. Walter says people are turning problems with the performance into problems with the team. Chill out. This is what happens every single time we lose a game. You know, if we lose a game, then it's just like throw it all in the bin. You know, I don't really think it's that. If you actually watched the game and internalized it, you know, and you like looked at it for what it was, Arsenal were not perfect on the day, but they needed to put their chances away, you know, and they can be much better at finishing than this, and we know that. So it was an off day. It sucks badly, you know, but some of this is like very much so jumping off the ledge, and I'm not jumping off the ledge with y'all. You know, I'm not. Joe says Saka and Martinelli were so poor. And this game was meant for them. Villa were playing a high line. Yeah, neither of them were very good. I don't think, like when I say our front four, Odegaard, Jesus, Saka, Martinelli, none of them were very good. I actually thought Kai Havertz again was good in this game, but you know, it can't just be Kai Havertz and Rice doing all the hard work in there. You have to reap the benefits of that hard work. And another game, like another one of these games where it's like, you know, we need somebody just to put it in the back of the net, you know. Let's see. Kasim says we have been poor against the top teams, scraped a draw against Chelsea, Tottenham, lucky win against United and City, lost to Newcastle, Villa. Our ruck is ran out this time. Like I said, I'm not jumping off the cliff with you guys. So if you guys want to just go ahead and do that, you guys can. I'm not coming with you. To frame our wins against United and City as lucky, as if we didn't deserve them, just to add them into this. And then, you know, Chelsea and Tottenham, they weren't lucky draws. Like we still like it's how is it lucky draws if they're not battering you? You know, I could understand more if like we were outplayed in any of those games. Maybe against Chelsea we're outplayed in like the first half, but that was pretty much it. Like this whole idea that like we don't deserve the results that we get, but when the results go against us, it's like you know what I mean? It's so strange. Like this behavior here is not something that like I respect your opinion, but like at the same time, it's a little bit like all of our wins are lucky. All of the losses that we had are the worst thing in the world. We're finished. Let's pull our pants up a little bit and stand up a little bit. You know, it's a loss. It's not the end of the world. You know, we can still. I'm not even like sure. It's like we can still rebound and make we're 1 point off the top. Big G says, thank you so much for your super chat. Says, not impressed by Villa. We should have smoked them. That's kind of the feeling that I have is more we should have really taken them to task today because they were not good. They weren't, and we were the much better side. You don't get anything for that, but you know, why are we rewriting history on all of our results? I just it's so it gets so boring every year. Let's see. Social Join says, I can't believe we couldn't beat a basic high line. We need a fast striker. Eddie is done. We need a substitute striker. You can see it now. Dodd says, for 700 million spent, Arteta has been here. I'd expect much better bench with the better options. I mean, we have it, but these are the same people that nobody wants to get rid of. Every time you suggest getting rid of Emile Smith-Rowe, somebody's fucking dying about it. Every time you say get rid of Thomas Partey and bring in somebody who's more available, you guys start clutching your pearls. Like, what do you want? Do you want to have a good bench, or do you want to get rid of the guys that continuously are never available when you need them? You know, but we do. It's like everybody's going through injuries. Like also, like we have to get out of this idea that at some stage we're going to have all of our best players available to us at one time. We're not. As soon as Tomiyasu and Partey come back, somebody else will be out. We have to be able to manage through these injuries. And so far, we've done a really good job. You know, we've had some, I think, poor luck coming up against Newcastle with injury-ridden side, coming up against Aston Villa without Tomiyasu, Timber, and Partey. But in both of those games, we still could have gotten results. So, you know, I get that it's like, oh, well, we should have better bench option. We have this. The team that was out there should have been able to put that shit to bed. You know, that's on period. You know, not a single game to me this season has come down to our bench. It hasn't. It's the players that are out there are not doing the business, and they have to look at themselves in the mirror today and say, listen, I was crap and I didn't put my chances away. Every time I tried to beat my man, I lost the ball. When I tried to, do whatever, I did the wrong pass. I did the wrong this because it's those 11 players without the bench could have done it. They could have done it. Not everything is about the bench. Sometimes it's like these players have to be able to do it. Can we reinforce in January? Absolutely. Absolutely, we can reinforce. But today's game for me is just not about the bench. It wasn't about the bench. It's just finish your chances, finish your dinner. The game plan was perfect. We had chances, clear cut ones too, not even like opportunities where it was like, well, we had chances. We had chances, you know? Um, it's annoying. Like it just is to me. These players could have done better on the day. It's not always about who's not there. It's always if this person was here, then this would have happened. No, these players need to do it. They're more than good enough today. I'm more disappointed by what they didn't do than who we didn't have today. You know, Chadwick says, Jess, I don't think anyone is suggesting that it's the end of the world. However, if everyone knows that's the plan is to double up, triple team on Saka or Martinelli, why not at least rest Saka for one game? Saka doesn't want rest. Saka doesn't want rest. And I don't, this whole like people at the beginning of this game were saying Saka was injured. I think we also need to remember that like if Saka was really injured, maybe he wouldn't be playing. Like, I don't know. I don't know if Saka needed to be rested today or rested a game, or we have PSV coming up in the week. We have a perfect game to rest absolutely everybody. So I don't think it's about rest. I don't think it's about Saka double teamed on. So we need to, sub him off every once in a while or not play him every once in a while. Because guaranteed, if Saka didn't play, you guys be crying about not having Saka. So Saka's not injured. He's fine. He just needed to play better today, and he has an opportunity to rest against PSV. So let's stop babying this team. They don't need rest. They need to play better. They don't need rest. They just need to play better. To me, I'm sorry. It's like a little bit frustrating. Like I am a little bit frustrated, but it's just like the game was it's so simple. Like the game's just, you just need to put the ball in the back of the net. Saka's not injured. Martinelli just played shit. Jesus was all in his head. Odegaard missed wide open chances. The defense was fine. We got done on one chance. Like the game is just so simple. Put the ball in the back of the net. These players could do better. It's not even just like a striker, but I do kind of understand like the idea of like, okay, well, in these games, high pressure matches, a strike, maybe make it more of a guarantee. But I still think these players could have done better. I don't want to let them off the hook by just saying, well, if we would have had a striker, it would have been fine. Like, no, you know? Aman says, yep, the first 11 didn't get the job done, especially our attackers, all poor except Havertz. JJ says Partey doesn't even count as an Arsenal player. I don't know why it always goes back to him. Well, when we have Partey, you guys, I'm so freaking serious right now. I'm like, I love you guys to death. You guys know I love you guys so much. There's 250 of you guys in here. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. Stop pinning your hopes on Thomas Partey. He's not going to come back and save us. I'm so freaking serious. It's like, he's not coming to save us. We need to look at the players that we have right now. And from now until January 1st, because the window cannot open until then, we have so many important games that these players need to deal with. So yes, the January transfer window is super important. We need to go out there and get something. But the idea that these players that have constantly been injured every single season are going to come back and save us, no. And it's not always about who is on the bench or who's in the market or whatever. We need to expect more from these guys. These guys let us down today, So even if we may need a striker, Odegaard should be putting his chances away. Even if Saka is tired, Saka could have done better today still. He was getting kicked, but at the same time, like, we know Saka could have done better. We know Martinelli could have done better. I just feel like we're going so away from the point here. D'Angelo says no Jorginho today. I don't think Jorginho would have helped us in terms of, I think the midfield battle was really important because Havertz and Rice were winning a lot of those battles in there and nicking the ball away from them and stuff like that. I just feel like there is something that Jorginho gives you on the ball, but if you can't win the ball and you can't get it, then what he gives you is not going to help you. Now, maybe he could have, but I'm not personally convinced that I would have wanted Jorginho out there today. It was a really scrappy game in the middle. So yeah. Mindful says, how long are we going to rely on refereeing decisions? I'm sick of this. We should have won the game. Period. We should have won. We should have won. Um, we should have. We should have won. We should have won. Lucas says, let's be honest. The only reason they didn't give a penalty is because it's Jesus. Well, here's the other thing. We've spoken about this a couple of times. We'll get into the player ratings in just a second. But when you go down theatrically every single time, you become the boy that cried wolf. And I love Gabriel Jesus. He does win us fouls sometimes, but I thought today, as soon as he went down, it was like he went down and then he went down theatrically. I don't think you need to do that. Sorry. As soon as I start doing something, somebody's asking me questions. But yeah, like I just feel like our players don't get the benefit of the doubt when we should get it, because when you go down theatrically every single time, they tend to think you're always flopping. And so he was very much so in his flop bag today, and it was really annoying me because I'm like, I think if you just try to score anywhere, try to keep going, and you go down naturally, they probably think it's more of a foul than what you did. Because as soon as he threw himself to the ground, and it was just like, you're never getting that, you know. I love Gabriel Jesus, but sometimes he gets way too involved in the dark arts, trying to win fouls, and it takes away from what we need him to be doing, which is holding the ball up, connecting play, things like that. And he got wrapped up in the bullshit. He got wrapped up in the bullshit to me today. Darek, thank you so much for your super chat. Says, I sincerely hate this fan base overreaction. We don't have the big boy mentality yet. It's a long season, fellas. Come on, you Gunners. You're doing well. Also, sister, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Here's the thing. It's like there's a balance of hold on, y'all. Sorry, this is important. That's why I had to stop. Okay, so I'm not saying don't have a reaction to the game, right? But the reaction of like, we're, when a couple of days ago we're winning the league, and then now because we don't win this game, did you guys not anticipate losing any more games the rest of the season? That's what I'm asking. I also want to ask that. But I don't think we need to make this into like every time we win doesn't mean that we're winning the league, and every time we lose doesn't mean we're losing it, if that makes sense. And I feel like we never really find that balance. I'm not saying don't be disappointed in this result or be pissed, because I'm so angry right now. Like literally, I'm hungry. I'm tired. I'm mad because I knew that this I knew like we were gonna lose, but I'm even more upset that we lost the way that we lost, you know? So I'm not saying don't have the any sort of reaction, but I do think when we start future casting into doom and gloom and stuff like that, it's really hard for me then to take people serious when we inevitably win a couple of more games on the trot, and then they're right back here saying it's like, we're done, we're not, we're done, we're back, we're done, we're back, we're done, we're back. It's like, it's not the end. It's not the end, but we definitely need to do better than what we did today. Thank you so much for your super chat. And so again, I didn't say don't have any sort of reaction or criticism is not needed, but saying that there's no way that we're going to win the league, or, it's done from here, whatever, that's not criticism. That's throwing your toys out, right? So yeah, Amon says, bring me Tony in January. The Mad Hatter says, no pen. We won't get any more pens this year. Brett Brown says, also the least amount of corners in this game. Crazy. D'Angelo says, with that move, Arteta wasn't pleased by looking how he left Villa Park. I mean, he's not going to be happy. I mean, he was pissed because you cannot miss those chances. You have to. I don't know what it would have been like having him on the touchline, but I do think we lacked a little bit of intensity, and it just felt as though we were playing a little bit within ourselves. We were doing what we were being asked to do, but there wasn't any bite in what we were doing, except for like Gabriel Saliba to me had pretty good games. Like I thought they had pretty good games all in all, and we're winning their battle. Their individual battle, they were winning against Ollie Watkins and whoever else was up there. I thought Rice, had a really tough day against McGinn and co, but held his own. Havertz as well. So like they did their thing, but I just don't feel like there's enough intensity from our attackers. I don't think they were really into it. I don't know if Arteta had been on the sideline, it would have changed, but he's not going to be happy. Like, he's not going to be happy, and who would? I'm not saying be happy. Saida says, I hope this result doesn't boil over to Brighton and then Liverpool. I'm always pessimistic after a loss because we don't tend to bounce back well. Well, let's see. I mean, we lost to Newcastle, which was a very highly contentious game, correct? Did we not win like the next 4 games or so after that? So again, like, we're also attributing things to last season's Arsenal to this season's Arsenal. I don't think, have we dropped points in multiple games back to back? We beat Manchester City, and I think we dropped points to Spurs and then Chelsea, something like that. But yeah, I'm not necessarily even thinking about this carrying over into Brighton. I think this team is going to get multiple results in the row. Let's see what we did. We've played so many games already. We lost to Newcastle, then we beat Sevilla, then we beat Burnley, then we beat Brentford, then we beat Lens, then we beat Wolves, then we beat Luton. So we won like 5 on the bounce after we lost to Newcastle. So we don't, I get the hope. Nobody wants to hope. Nobody wants, to feel like it might spill over, but I also feel like that's more of a fan thing. We will allow this result to carry, like, we won't just let it go. It will be something that we continuously bang on about until Brighton. But the players have shown that after a bad result, a poor result, that they can bounce back from it this season. So yeah, I'm not really like that worried about that. I think we'll turn around and beat Brighton, like, at home. It'll be a tough game, but I think we'll turn around and beat them, like, again. And we weren't horrendous today. We just didn't put away our chances. Dale says, this season, no back-to-back drop points. Last season, dropped 3 points in a row and dropped 4 points in a row. Akal says, this is a game we should have won, except Jesus, Martinelli, Odegaard, Saka were so poor. I agree. Yogesh says, that Liverpool game becomes so much more important. You can't lose. You can't lose. I think we're going to have to make up points somewhere. Not losing at Anfield is one of them, but we still have more games in between there to think about. We have a game to think about before we get there. But yeah, we'll have to make up the points somewhere. I think, when you lose at Villa Park and you lose at St. James, then what instantly comes into my mind is that you have to not lose at the Etihad and Anfield. So that's a very, very tough, tall order. But as we've seen in Barclays, anything can happen. So I don't want to write us off in fucking December because we're 1 point off the top. It just feels a little, yeah. Mindful says, we are soft today, so it's only natural the criticism comes with it. Didn't say no criticism. I've never said no criticism, you guys. I said the overreaction of, like, to me, saying it's over, we're not winning the league, everybody, like, our players are poor, blah, blah. Like, the very, like, blanketed statements for me is not criticism. So it's an overreaction. Only as the day says, Brighton couldn't beat Burnley at home. What makes you think they could beat Arsenal away? Anybody can beat anybody on any given day, but I do think we'll bounce back against Brighton. Like, John P says, I need to see Will Walters against PSV. We need another defender quick. Saida says, I think we lost a game before the West Ham loss as well, but usually these losses happen when Arteta makes big changes in the first 11. Yeah, I mean, we were shit against West Ham and we didn't beat them away, mostly because we changed the entire 11. Like, I don't even really count that one, but it is what it is. So Ify says, should have drawn today. At least I'm gutted. I cannot believe we did not put not one of those chances away. Like, I thought that we would be more battered like Man City was, but we let them off the fucking hook. Like, that pisses me off so much. I just, yeah, I mean, they really need to just look at themselves and say, like, listen, we were not good enough today. Let's see. Let's get into some player ratings now. And obviously, like, now that I want to do this, everything is not working the way that I want it to. Can I just move over to the side? Yeah, I'm just gonna have to move over to the side. I cannot be asked. I can't be asked. See how I'm like trying to, like, how far? I can't do it. Let me get into my settings. You guys, make sure you guys are liking this video and subscribing to the channel where I get my whole life together. Here we go. Here we go. Yeah. Okay. This is just going to have to do. It's kind of jank, but it'll be fine. It'll be fine. You guys love me anyway, right? Make sure you guys are smashing the likes because I'm having a terrible day. Terrible, 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 terrible day. Okay. Don't think he was, the enemy today. Raya. I know some people trying to blame him for the first goal, but you know, maybe he should save it. I think Allison probably saves that. But again, and this whole like once we get our Allison thing, this also kind of has annoyed me a little bit. This whole, once we get our Allison, there is no other Allison. He's a one of one. There'll never be another one. So maybe he thought he should have did better on the goal. I think Ben White is weak on the challenge, and Zinchenko's out of position. So, not quite sure that, Raya has to be saving that or anything like that. Again, the ball wasn't even in that end. He made a couple of decent saves too. One of them that probably would not have ended up being offside. I don't know if it was Ollie Watkins or it probably does not end up being offside when you rewatch it. So he made a good save. It really wasn't on his end. They really had no chances. They scored the one that they had. This really wasn't a Raya day. I'm just gonna, he didn't have much to do. He did what he could. 6, no biggie there. I mean, unless somebody wants to make an argument why this entire game was on Raya. Because it really wasn't. Lucas says, I didn't even thought about Raya when they scored. It's on the defenders. Exactly. I'll name this account later. Says 6 for Raya. Every save he made, he should make average performance. Clement says, oh yeah, you're giving all of those at once. So yeah, my player ratings, 5 for Raya, White 3, Gabriel 5, Saliba 5. Why are Gabriel and Saliba getting 5s? Zinni 2, Rice 5, Odegaard 2, Havertz 5, Saka 5. Nah, man. I respect this, but no. Not for me. Not for me. Some of those are insanely low for me. I thought Saliba was really good against Ollie Watkins, gave him nothing. I thought he was fine. He had one mistake in possession, but it didn't cost us anything. Passing out from the back was fine. I thought him and Gabriel, they won their battle. Like, again, like when we lose, like when we played against Luton, I remember everybody wanted to give Saliba and Gabriel like very low scores because of Raya's mistake. And I didn't really feel like they had bad games. I didn't. Like, I thought Gabriel and Saliba had good games today. Like, I did. Against the attack that everybody said was going to tear us apart, they had nothing. They did nothing because Gabriel and Saliba were imperious back there. And yes, like Saliba had one little like shaky moment in possession. I'm just not sure that like Zinni being out of position and Odegaard and Saka and Martinelli and Jesus being shit means that Saliba and Gabriel deserve super low scores. I'm just not really having that today. Obviously it's a team game, so I won't give them like 8s or 9s or anything like that. But I think like even like I would give them like 6.5 out of 7. Like again, this is an attack that everybody said was going to absolutely rip us. And I think the reason why they had a really tough day out was because Saliba and Gabriel were cleaning them up. It wasn't their fault. It really wasn't. Like, I'm having a really difficult time connecting with the idea that if the team plays bad, everybody's score should be a 4. Because if that's the case, then let's stop doing player ratings because that's not fair. We're doing individual performances here. And again, Saliba and Gabriel did their job. They did their job. It's not their fault that we didn't finish our dinner. Like every time we talk about this. The Arsenal perspective says Raya 6. Nocturnal Gunner says absolutely not. John P says Ben White and Saliba are not quite right. Saliba, I thought was really good today, actually. Brianna says our players should just start making strong shots. These baby shots are not good enough against a quality keeper. Philip says 7. D'Angelo says Saliba was good. The Mad Hatter says Saliba 7. D'Angelo says Saliba 7. John P says 7. It is very possible to have a really good game yourself and lose because the rest of your players didn't do what they were supposed to do. Yeah, so F says Raya was 5 low key spilled some shots though. Think he's better than Ramsdale, but I question his mentality. Not gonna lie, always look shook. Nocturnal says Raya 6, Gabrielle 7, Saliba 6, White 5, Zenny 5. Hellman says, just not overreacting, but what are your thoughts on us losing our first difficult game in 5? Because we did have a recent easy run on paper. I don't know. No, okay, so it's an easy. No, I can't really go into this right now because we're doing player ratings, but check everybody else's scores. Like, check how everybody else, played against Luton. Check how everybody else played against Wolves. Check how everybody else played against Brentford, and tell me that that's an easy run. Like, Liverpool barely beat Crystal Palace today. So this whole idea that we went through an easy run and we won all those games, but we don't legitimize it. Like, we won the games because we deserved to. We came up against a difficult opponent that has not has not dropped a single point at home. And everybody expected us to walk up there and win. Easy. No. It's not about our first, the tough games. You're always going to, the ones at home, we've done well, I thought, so far. But the ones away, we've struggled a little bit. But it's not because we were just played off the park or anything like that. To me, people expect us to go up to everybody's ground and just walk away with the 3 points. And it's just not going to happen like that. To me, that's kind of my answer for that. It's just not, the Premier League is not as easy as people are making it out to seem. Gabrielle, to me, also gets a 6.5 out of 7 or 6.5 or 7. I thought he was really good, actually. Had 1 or 2 little moments, but all in all, again, this is an attack that really made City look really bad. And I thought our center backs were actually our best players back there. White, poor day. I have to be so honest. In attack, not good. His crosses were not good enough. His first touch was not good enough. He just doesn't look like himself right now, and I'm not sure what it is. I'm just going to say it's a poor bit of form. He had a poor run of form before we found out that he had the injury, and then he had the injury. Now he's come back. First 2 games back has not been the best, and I thought he was poor on his challenge, for the goal too. Fit and fired up Ben White gets a block on that. We've seen him when he's really into it, make those blocks and stuff, but he just has looked kind of weak in the challenge lately. And I'm not sure what that is, but with Tommy out, Ben White has got to turn this form around in some way, shape, or form. He has got to start getting back into a decent run of form because this is not good enough. A 5 for him. It was really not a good day out for Ben. He wasn't terrible, but it wasn't good enough at all at this level. It just, when you're playing one of the most informed sides at their place, you really need to get those blocks in. You need to, your first touch needs to be on point. And I just felt like everything was just half a percentage off here, half a percentage off there, whole percentage off there. That adds up to a 5 performance at this level. So not good enough. Zinchenko, listen, it was a typical Zinchenko game. Is out of position for the goal in the first couple of minutes of the game. Then pretty much does what he usually does, sits in midfield and dictates play. And from there, our attackers just don't do the business. So it was the typical Zinchenko game that I think we kind of all knew was going to happen. It's really a shame that Tomiyasu and Timber are both injured, and I don't think Arteta has a lot of faith in Kivior. But again, going to Anfield like this smells like a loss. It really, really does. And we need to get something out of it. So Arteta probably needs to go a little bit more defensive there. But I feel like he didn't feel like he had a choice in this game. But Zinchenko always has one in him. He always has one in him. He even had one time where he just passed it straight to Aston Villa. He was standing in our box and passed it straight to an Aston Villa player, under no pressure. And I just didn't really, I'm like, You have too many of these, bro. Like you really do. So yeah, for him, um, he's out of position on that. Like I don't know. I feel like he was better going forward than Ben White was, but the mistake that he made was really fatal, wasn't it? So, um, hold on, you guys. My computer just messed up. I don't know. I want to give him like a 5, but people will probably say like a 2 or lower. So yeah. Boy says, really wish Arteta would have trialed Will Walters in one of these games that we've been comfortably up in. Looks like we might end up having to play him or Cedric soon. He won't play Will Walters or Cedric. I think this idea that Arteta at some point is going to stop playing Zinchenko is something that, just like I told you guys earlier, that you need to stop hoping or praying that Partey is going to come in and save us. You need to stop thinking that Zinchenko is going to be isolated or ostracized outside of this team, like, or not used in any capacity. Like, there's not a world in which Ben White and Zinchenko are fit and he starts to play Rule Walters and Cedric. He chose to play Rob Holding during the run-in. This is who we're talking about here. So the idea that, because Zinchenko made that mistake, he's going to go into Rule Walters or Ben White's not at 100. Like, we would have to have a couple more injuries for that to even be a case. Like, do you know what I mean? So I don't think we're anywhere near that. I really don't. So yeah, High Tech J says, why are we acting like he didn't have a good game? We never really talk about both sides. That's why I gave him a 5 and not like a 2 or 3 like some other people, is because he made that one mistake and he was out of position. I won't even say it was like a full-on individual error. He was out of position, pressed, and then they popped it by him. And there were a couple of other things that probably could have went better in that whole thing that added up to a goal, right? But because it was on Zinchenko's side and he was the one who popped out of his position, he gets a 4 or a 2 or a negative, even though he helped create loads of chances for players that did not put in the back of the net. So yeah, for me, we don't always look at both sides. Like, if Zinchenko doesn't if he makes one mistake, everything that he does going forward is erased. He's just that player. There's certain players in this fan base or in this club that the fan base does not like, and Zinchenko is one of them. So he'll never get a fair grade. He'll never get a fair grade. Only as the day says, Zinchenko doesn't know how to control the ball. He plays like a 12-year-old boy. I don't know. Is Zinchenko a poor technical player when you say that he's, doesn't know how to control the ball and plays like a 12-year-old? You're talking about somebody that doesn't have any technical quality. Is that what we're saying about Zinchenko? So yeah, Boy says Zinchenko might get injured. Of course, Arteta is not going to stop playing him, but that doesn't suddenly mean Zinchenko has to stay fit for a whole season. Again, remember, Arteta hasn't even really integrated any sort of kid into Arsenal. So I still think that, like, yeah, maybe that's what you want to happen. You want to see more of the youth embedded in, and but Arteta is going to trust the players that he has. And if we get down to it and there's no players to play there, I would bet that he'd play, Rice at fullback before he plays Rule Walters. Adebayo says Saka and Odegaard were worse than Zinchenko. They were. But again, Zinchenko, if he's not 100% perfect, even when he is, they give him really poor grades, So I'm not going to really sit here and like defend him because he did make that one error. But, I feel like sometimes we're incredibly harsh on him. But I also understand that a lot of that is not because of what he does on the pitch. It's the political side of things too. Ever since he put out that Instagram story, he's just never going to be looked at the same. Declan Rice, again, thought he had a really tough battle in there against some really physical midfielders. I thought McGinn was really physical. He got the better of him like once. He had some little ones with Douglas Luiz too, but I thought he held his own, did what he usually does. I thought he won the ball a couple of times and the players around him were kind of like almost scared to like go after it. And he's like pointing at it, like, go get it. He actually got his first yellow card today, which I'm not surprised because it was a very frustrating game where he was trying to, push through and lost the ball and then made a foul. Like, it wasn't his best game, but I still think he held his own. And I don't know if I feel like his performance should have resulted in him not getting any points, because I thought him and Havertz were really in there battling against a really physical, decent midfield and didn't get shit from it. They were really good on the day, and it's really unfortunate. So again, like, I don't think Rice or Saliba or Gabriel deserve to, get really poor scores because everybody up front was afraid to put the ball in the back of the net. So for me, he gets a 7. It's like a lower a lower version of what he usually does, but it's a tough game against good opponents. You can't expect Rice to just continuously do everything. Like, you need other players to do their business. Nathaniel says Rice 7. Schizo says Kai didn't deserve to lose. Really hoped they'd give his goal. He deserved that. He's really had a lot of good performances recently. He has. I thought he was good against Newcastle. I think he was good today. It's good to see him get a run. And again, we're not in like poor form or anything like that. So, it's a loss. So, it is what it is. Sometimes I don't think our performances, like some people's performances, deserve for them to be on the wrong side. And I don't think Rice and Kai and Saliba and Gabriel deserve to be on the wrong side, but they are. So what can you say? Hellman says Kai did a lot of connecting that Odegaard should have. Boy says Rice gets a 7 anytime he hasn't given us an 8+ game. We have not gotten the result. Lots of players in the attack have to step up now. Yeah, I don't think he was like, he did anything particularly wrong. It just wasn't sparkling. Again, this whole performance and everything looks much more different if we win the game, or just score a goal. Odegaard, I don't even know what to say. Like, he's obviously my favorite player. I think he's fantastic and everything, but when you have 2 chances that he has to put them in the back of the net. I thought he did a good job, like winning the ball and stuff like that, and pressing and nicking it off of them in the first half. His first half like performance was more kind of like, him connecting and stuff, and I thought he was okay. But the chance that he had that Martinez guessed right, and the chance that he had in the second half, you just have to bury those. Like, that's the Newcastle away goal. It is like, it's the goal that he got against Newcastle that helped us win that game. You get that goal, we win. I think if we get 1 goal back, we win, but we didn't get it. And that whole like from like the 15th minute to about the 75th minute, we were in really good positions to score, and he was a big part of it. So listen, it's he'll look at those chances back and know that he made huge mistakes in those, and it's not great. But on days like this, you really have to put your chances away, and he didn't. That's the difference between winning and losing. So I'm going to give him a 4 today. You just really can't look beyond those 2 big chances. Like, they were the perfect chances too. Like, I don't know if they landed on his right foot, but I still feel like you should be putting those away. Shouldn't be afraid to put it in the back of the net. Only as the day says Odegaard needed to be decisive with that shot. The first one, it's like he takes too long. And what really irritated me in the first half is that we have too many players that want to take too many touches in the box. They want to juke. Just shoot. It's so annoying that they don't take shots when they're wide open. Jesus did it a couple of times too, where he's twisting and turning and shit. We're already 1 goal down. We don't need that. You don't have all the time in the world. You just need to nick a goal and then go again. And so all this nonsense about like wanting to walk it in, it becomes very nauseating when you're down a goal and you're away from home at a really difficult ground. You just need to put it in the back of the net. And so I cannot really get over that first one. For me, was actually worse than the second one. Some people are saying the second one was worse, but it really doesn't matter. They were both poor. The Arsenal perspective says Odegaard 4, not good enough from the captain. We needed the commanding performance from him, and he didn't get that. I actually think if he scores either one of those, his performance looks a lot different. I don't think he was horrendous or non-effective or not involved in the game at all. But again, it's like a goal can really change the way that you perceive a performance, right? Like Declan Rice's performance against Luton probably would have looked a little bit less impressive had he not scored the goal. And that's really the difference is you have to get the goal for to legitimize everything else that you did, or else it doesn't mean anything because you're the captain, you're the main guy. So he's not going to get a lot of plaudits for, a lot of the passes that he put in, a lot of the connections that he made winning the ball back. You're not going to get any of that if you don't put the ball in the back of the net. So it erases absolutely everything, which is unfortunate. But he was not. Um, he just needed to do the main thing, which he didn't do. See, Walder says, I think Saka, Martinelli, and Jesus played worse than Odegaard. They did. They did as a whole of their game. That's the thing. It's like Zinchenko and Odegaard were better than Jesus, Saka, and Martinelli. But because they made the most glaring errors, the rest of their performance is tainted. And that's just the game is the game, right? Especially because, again, Odegaard, like Zinchenko, they're not favored players. They're pretty disliked. So it is what it is. He gets a 4 from me because I expect so much better. He needs to put that ball in the back of the net. But I don't think his overall performance was anywhere near as poor as the other three, you know, anywhere near as poor as the three that we're going to talk about now. So actually, I want to talk about Havertz first because I thought he was really good today again. Won his battles, got us up the pitch, connected, made tons of runs. Lee Dixon actually sat up there and lied on commentary and said Kai Havertz hadn't made a single run in that game. He is a bull-faced lie. He made so many runs, but nobody would hit him. We like in the second half, like we started to do this thing where we were like almost afraid to hit him behind. I don't really understand why. Kai Havertz was making runs, and beyond that, he had a good game. And unfortunate not to get the goal that was called for a handball, whatever. Like he had a good game. So, and nobody will gaslight me into thinking different. 7, good game. Didn't deserve to be on the losing team. Slowly putting together good performances. And just because the team loses doesn't mean he was a loser. So he was very good today. And so, yeah, he was making the runs. You have to hit him. We are so afraid to hit teams in behind. And it's becoming like nobody's afraid to try to hit us behind. So why are we afraid? It's very annoying seeing us not consistently hit that ball in behind. Like what we did with the Saka offside goal is what we should have done every single time we got the ball, every single time. But we wouldn't do it. Boy says Havertz is a 7. He's become something of a creative engine in midfield. He was robbed of an assist. I feel really bad for him. Only as the day says Havertz goal should have counted. Ocampo says Jesus literally said scoring is not his strength, and he literally stopped scoring. Look, no. I mean, since he's said that, he scored like 4 goals. So no. But he wasn't good today. The Arsenal perspective says Kai is improving with every game. I felt sorry for him most to be on the losing side. C. Walder says Havertz is making nonstop runs. Exactly. I don't know why. He was Lee Dixon sat up there and lied his ass off. But he also started off the game by saying that Aston Villa had no weaknesses in their team and Arsenal had 4 or 5 weaknesses in their team. And Kai Havertz was, blah, blah, blah. And Raya was blah, blah, blah. And do they have a striker? And do they have this? So I knew that his commentary would not be, yeah. He actually was like really wanting the goal to be disallowed as well. So yeah, I can't stand him. Not my legend. The Arsenal perspective says, I like the grip with him standing up to Martinez as well. I know some may argue it was not necessary, but for me, it shows more confidence in the man. F97 says Havertz 7. Our best player today should have just shot instead of passing it to Saka. Teammates need to make runs more. Let's see. Ocampo says Tomiyasu would have dealt with the Bailey guy better. I mean, so like Tomiyasu not there, so Tomiyasu, it's like he wasn't there. He's injured and he's injured a lot. So, and again, Tomiyasu may have stopped Bailey from scoring, but would he have helped us do anything on the other end? I don't know, so I'm not sure that Tomiyasu being there means we win the game because Zinchenko sat up there in midfield and helped facilitate a lot of moves that a lot of players just bottled, so yeah. Nocturnal says, I need Zinni, Nelly, and Trusty to stop ignoring him when he wants the ball. I agree. I 100% agree. Like, how many times is he going to make a run and you're just not going to hit him? Like, it was really exhausting. Um, so yeah, who else? I mean, the whole front three, we could just give them all like two. So bad today. Martinelli, again, I don't really agree with this whole idea that like Martinelli, because he could have been effective in behind, that he shouldn't have come off, because we all saw what a poor game he was having. Um, and so I think had he had stayed on and we not scored, then people would have been like, well, why didn't Trossard come on? So you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. He had a really, really poor game today. And I think the goal that he had against Luton masked over another performance that left a lot to be desired. He's in a not in the greatest runs of form right now, and beyond the Champions League and the Premier League, he hasn't really gotten going, and that's a worry because you need Martinelli to be on like 10. We need him to be on double digits. Right now, he's only on 2 goals this season so far, I think, in the Premier League. And so there needs to be some heavy lifting done by somebody in there. And I feel like Kai Havertz is going to hold up his weight, but the one that's the glaring one for me is somebody who scored 15 goals last season, not scoring 15 goals this season from a forward position is really going to F us over. Now, I understand that he had an injury, but since then, he's been back for a while, so we need to see more end product from Gabriel Martinelli, but today was just not his day. So, I'm going to give him I could give him lower, but I won't. 4. Really poor today. Really poor today. Only as the day says, Trossard is becoming an absolute stink on the pitch these days. Jabenga says, obviously, Unai Emery watched the match against Luton. Villa was very physical, and Dina purposefully took Saka out of the game by almost rupturing his Achilles. Yeah, they were physical, but I thought we actually dealt with the physical part of the game really well. Again, like, I don't think the physical side of the game, Villa's attack, none of those things for me really stood out to me. It really was just we didn't finish our chances. I think that's the main story of the game. We dealt with them physically. I don't think that they were overrunning us in midfield. I don't think that we lost all of our duels or anything like that. They were physical and they kicked the shit out of Saka, but we still should have put our chances away. And when we were in good positions, when we were wide open, we just made the bad decision every single time. The crosses weren't good enough. The final ball wasn't good enough. The final touch wasn't good enough. Everything was off, so we dealt with the part that I actually thought that we would struggle with the most, which is the physical part. I'm very surprised at how bad we were at just in and around the box. Very, very surprised. The Arsenal perspective says Martinelli has those games, cannot cut through, he can't beat his man, etc. They're becoming too few and like they're coming too thick and fast now, these performances, like they're too often. So it started to become less of like a he'll come back into form. It's more like, okay, when's that form coming? But I'm not saying that it can't happen. I'm not totally writing off Martinelli or anything like that. We need him to come back in. Ocampo says all the stats were pointing to an Arsenal win in the final third was disappointing. It's the story, y'all. F95 or 94 says Martinelli 4. Feel weird, but don't think he was as bad as people are saying. Was just starting to be a threat when he got subbed. Think he should have stayed on. I was calling for him off, but I will rewatch the game and maybe I'll feel differently like tomorrow. Like that happens. Sometimes I'll rewatch and I'll be like, yeah, maybe it wasn't as bad, but I was cussing these people out. I'm not gonna lie. Everybody up front was getting. They were getting it. Nabil says Havertz looked good, but it looked like Martinelli was non-existent. Kai was running into spaces Martinelli would. Looked like Jesus was everywhere for the wrong reasons. Kai 7, Martinelli 5. So yeah, he was poor. And so was Jesus. He started off okay, but again, I thought he got way too wrapped up in trying to win fouls. And when he gets into that mode, he kind of did the same thing at Brentford away too, where every time somebody touched him, he went down. And sometimes I do think he's getting fouled. He did it a lot at Luton too. Sometimes he's getting fouled, sometimes he's not. But when you go down every single time, you don't get the benefit of the doubt. And I think he's up on the bulletin board for the PGMOL as a flopper. And that's why we're not going to get any penalties for him. That's why we're not going to get any of those fouls at the halfway line for him, because he just, I think, has been clocked as a flopper. That's what I'll say. So It's unfortunate, but once he gets his mind kind of like wrapped up in that, he can't rebound from it. He had one touch that went off of his shin, and I just knew, like, Gabriel Jesus that is like fully, locked into the game brings that down. He had one shot from right inside the box that was okay. It went straight to Martinez. He had another one where he was dribbling and tried to jink, 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 and I'm like, yo, just shoot, you know. So I think it's these are the games where the games against Luton, the games against, like, games like that, for the 95% of the games that we play, Gabriel Jesus will be good for us. But games where the margins are incredibly fine, like when we play against Man City at home, when we play Man City away, Liverpool home and away, maybe even Villa now, Newcastle, he's just not as effective. So this is where I think having the striker, having a different profile striker that's not Eddie will definitely help, because you kind of just need somebody that has the nose for goal. But equally, I don't want to lose all the stuff that Gabriel Jesus does in the smaller games with somebody that can only score goals. So that's kind of where Arsenal need to figure out what the right striker signing is going to be, because you can't lose everything. But in these games where the margins are fine, I do find is like his contribution to be less influential and more frustrating, than anything. So yeah, not a great game for him whatsoever. He started off okay and then just trailed off into the mind, the mind. I don't know what to call it, but you could just tell when he's just too desperate to like get the fouls, and it's like, no, you don't need the fouls. We need you to hold that shit up. Like there was one time where Gabriel and Diaby were fighting for the ball, and Diaby got it, brought it down, dribbled away from Gabriel, and just passed it off to somebody. That's kind of what we needed from Gabriel Jesus, but he was way too desperate to get the fouls, and it didn't work. It just didn't work. They think that you're a flopper, bro, so you need to stop flopping. It's getting annoying. Jabanga says it was better to lose this match than the Luton match. The Arsenal perspective says the hunger he had at Luton was lacking here. Leopold says just finished officiating ECNL game. We're robbed by VAR. That's what I'm hearing. No, we weren't robbed. We didn't finish our chances. When you rely upon PGMOL to get you something, you've lost the game already. F says Jesus 4, that touch where he tries to lay it off instead of taking a shot and shooting is exactly why Tony and Osimhen is needed. Did the same thing versus Southampton 3-3, just isn't ruthless enough. Yeah, I was surprised that when that ball came in, he laid it off to Odegaard instead of like turning and shooting. That's something else. The Arsenal perspective says he needs competition. Let's see. Football 14 says sign new midfielder and striker, bench these guys. Only Saka should remain in that front four. You sound crazy as hell. I almost said something. We don't need to get rid of all of the players. We need to add a striker. We need to add maybe one midfielder and a defender. We don't need, this isn't get rid of Odegaard, Martinelli, and Jesus, and all these players just need to be binned off. Like, we need to add some other players, but they had a poor game. But these are the same players that when they play well, you guys are up their ass. Like, it's like, come on now. They had a poor game, but it doesn't mean everybody needs to go and put them in the bin. That's not what, like, I'm not going off that cliff with y'all. I'm not going off the cliff with y'all. Did you guys think the referee was going to referee the game in a way that would, be fair in any sort of way? Like, actually completely disregarded the referee's performance, because I thought every kick would go their way. Every time the ball went out, it would be their ball. Every time it was a 50-50, it would go their way. Every time, if we scored a goal, it would be called back. Like, I already kind of disregarded because from here on out, you guys were not getting anything from the refs because of what Arteta did against Newcastle. So I've completely disregarded the whole refereeing thing. And I think today the main culprit was us. The referee was not great, but they're never going to referee it fair anymore. When we're away from home, teams have carte blanche to kick us now. Like, that's just what happens when you speak up against the referees. You never get anything anymore, ever again. So I wouldn't count on them to do shit for us. Saka, poor game as well. When he missed that initial chance that flew, and like, It was before even Aston Villa even got a chance. Saka had a chance to hit it, and he completely whiffed it with his right foot. Not a good game attacking wise for him. I don't know. Here's the thing as well. Like, I think when you put a lot of effort into a game like Luton, unnecessary effort into a game against Luton, it's difficult to get up for another really difficult away game against a team that hasn't lost at all at home. And I think that's also why, like, I look at Raya and that performance and I'm thinking the repercussions of not making that an easy 2-0 and walking away and resting players is you have to play 97 minutes fully locked in, completely like all your energy and effort goes into that game. And then you don't have it that much left in this game to, once you go 1-0 down, it's like we didn't have that fight again. And then you also don't have your manager fighting for you on the sideline. And so this is why, like, games like Luton away, even though I don't expect them to be overs, they can't be what they were. They can't be what they were. That being said, the performance from Saka was not good enough, and it was a 4. And everybody in the front line for me got a 4. They were just really undercooked, and they're the reason to me why we lost this game. Zinni / the defense is the reason why we went behind, but I think the reason why we lost is them. I really just cannot look beyond the poor decision making, the poor touches, the lack of conviction, all of that shit. And so when your two center backs have, 7 out of 10 games at a difficult ground, your two center midfielders have 7 out of 10 games at a difficult ground, you need to get something back from that. And they didn't get anything back from that. If I was Havertz and Rice, I'd be sitting in the back of the bus by ourselves, not talking to nobody that played up front. No one. I wouldn't. I'd be like, don't talk to me. Don't talk to me. Because I didn't deserve to be on the losing team. For real. Let's see. Only as the day says, I imagine you play your life off to dominate the game and then get robbed. Think it's fan bases in here. Wait, imagine you play your life off to dominate a game and then get robbed. Think it's fan bases in here. For me, I don't think that we were necessarily robbed because there was enough handballs in there for him to call it back. So yeah. Let's see. Adebayo says Villa were not better, but Arsenal lacked good finishing. Exactly. O'Malley says that goal was Ben White's fault, period. I thought Ben White was poor on that goal. There was a lot of things that had to happen once Zinchenko was out of position for that goal to happen. And so that's why I was like, oh, it's just Zinchenko's fault. I get he's an easy target, so nobody will ever pull you up on it. But Ben White was really poor in that goal as well. And again, we had so many chances beyond that to me. Martinelli needs more output. His final ball is not good. Steve Walder says, congratulations. That was almost a sentence. I don't know if you're talking to me. Maybe not. I don't know. I think I put together a lot of sentences today. I don't know. I don't know. You're probably talking to somebody else. If you're talking to me, give me context because I don't know what you mean. But yeah, and like the substitute performances, I'll be so freaking honest with you guys. I don't care. They were all like kind of like whatever. I thought Trossard was poor. And Nketiah didn't really do anything, so we're not really going to sit back and like really chit chat about the non thing that they did. Nelson didn't really do anything either. Nothing really changed. But overall it was, it's tough because it's like, do I think that it was like our worst performance of the season? No, I thought our worst performance of the season was, probably the first 60 minutes of the Chelsea match. I thought that was our worst game. Yeah. I thought we had the fighting spirit against Newcastle. We're on the wrong side of a poor call. We should have got a draw in that game. But in this one, we left a lot on the table. And so we have nobody to blame but ourselves. Got to, wash it off. Gotta rinse it off. We have Brighton coming up, but we also have PSV before that. So it gives us like a little bit of a chance to give some players a rest and then go afresh again. But I think, it's obviously going to leave a sour taste in your mouth because of the way that the game went. Again, I'm not going to jump off the cliff with some of you guys. Like, I don't think being 1 point off the top at this stage means it's done. I don't think we need to be 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 points clear. We also have to remember that all of our contemporaries have to go to Villa as well. And if Man City lose and Arsenal lose, then some of them will lose too, maybe. So, we'll see. But we got good evenings. We got a good evening. You know, I don't know what else to say. Sample says, I thought Saka is world class. Jess, he is. One bad game does not make you not world class. I mean, again, this is the quintessential um what happens with the fan base. I don't know if you're an Arsenal fan or not, but you know, anytime somebody has a poor game or we lose a game, it's like we want to throw everything in the bin and just pretend as though, Saka doesn't have 24 goal involvements halfway through the season this season. So having a poor game does not mean that you're not world class anymore. If that were the case, then nobody would be world class if all it takes is one game. So again, I'm not going with the binary. We had a poor game, especially in the, goal scoring department, but hopefully, that changes against Brighton and first against PSV and he rests absolutely everybody. But you know, I don't know. I feel bad, but I feel like when I wake up tomorrow, I'll feel different. I'll feel like, okay, we can go again. Um, and we get to kind of just have like a nothing game midweek. It's not anything that we have to be stressed out about. I think Brighton have a game that they have to win midweek. So maybe that'll help us. I think they do. They still have to do a little bit to win that group or to go through. But we go again. We go again. It's not the end of the world. So Monday, the Patreon pod will come out for the post match. Still trying to wrangle a guest, but I do have somebody for Thursday or Friday already. I just have to get somebody for Monday, but that will come out on Monday. And we go again, you guys. We go again. I will talk to you guys on the next one. Make sure you guys like this video and subscribe to the channel. And bye, guys. Don't jump off the cliff.